Guys, I found Elias, but wh- what the hell happened to him?
It was that day we were frozen. Yeah, we took a separate path down. We thought it'd be a shortcut, but no, it wasn't a shortcut. After a while, we ran out of food, we ran out of supplies. We tried to eat the roots, but there wasn't any proper nourishment there. Then one day, I went out, looking for help. When I came back, they already started eating him. And the thing is, I'm not sure that I would have stopped him if I was there.
What do you mean they ate him?
It's like we had to. There's no survival. And the terrible thing is that when we eat him, it just became more. Our hunger became more severe, more ravenous, which is the title of today's movie. Yeah, when they did that speech in the movie, I was expecting him to say, "Is like our hunger became more." And it was like he's gonna say ravenous, and they said severe, and I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck?" It's like I thought that was gonna be like a roll credits moment, but like, nah, it's severe, and I was like, "God damn!" It's like that was like that should have been like the title drop moment, but it just wasn't. It was like, okay, well, I can live with that, but I'm disappointed. I'm very
Sorry, Cinema
disappointed.
Sins, not today.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Ravenous, 1999, directed by Antonio Bird. But before we get into that, why don't you two introduce yourselves? I'm Red Drum Arts.
My name is Patrick.
And I'm Lugia, and oh god, the humanity.
Yes.
But yeah, today
Yeah,
we are talking about
I'm Captain
Ravenous.
Drum Art.
What?
I'm Captain Drum Arts. They're private Lugia and private
Private Patrick.
PP.
I was thinking it should be Patrick or should be Colonel. I don't know.
Uh,
Whatever. Doesn't matter.
yes, today we are talking about Ravenous. But before we jump into that, let's jump back a bit. Because, in case you missed it, last week we talked about the Black Cauldron. And throughout that episode, we drew several comparisons between it and the Legend of Zelda series. And I'm assuming that Nintendo overheard us because it just so happens this past week it was announced that a live action Legend of Zelda movie is in production at Sony Pictures, of all places.
Hmm.
I would never
So I
dream that
guess
would happen. Like, ever.
since it's Sony, that's interesting to me because the illumination is universal. So
I know.
that's hmm
Well,
interesting.
I'm gonna be real. And I think most people would agree with this. Illumination making a Zelda movie would be a terrible idea.
Yeah, but at the same time, I do not trust Avi Arad
Like,
at all.
if they go for a similar style to Wind Waker, maybe it could work. Other than that, nothing else would.
I don't know. When I
Here's the
think
thing. Well, I think I ideally like the best Zelda movie would be like a 2D anime film from like
From, like, Studio Ghibli.
either no, like you could do Studio Ghibli, but like there's a lot of studios that could do it because like Studio Ghibli is influential. Miyazaki is influential on Zelda in more ways than one because it wasn't just Breath of the Wild that influenced it, but like Wind Waker. We were just talking about Wind Waker, right?
no, what's Wind Waker? Never heard of it.
Yeah. Okay, but there's this anime film called Anime Treasure Island, and it was one of the first like movies that Miyazaki really had like major influence over. It's basically like the progenitor of like his entire style. That movie was such a blatant influence on Wind Waker, man. Like the art style looks so fucking similar. Also, like the Little Prince, the Eight-Headed Dragon, which was incredibly influential on Miyazaki, as well as Gendy Tartakovsky, because if you've seen it, you know that Samurai Jack is like the biggest homage to it. But yeah, so the Little Prince, the Eight-Headed Dragon, and Animal Treasure Island, I'd say like those would make like a pretty good Wind Waker movie. Was animated like that 2D style. And as for like any other style, I would think like 90s anime OVA would be like really good. If you ever seen like a 90s anime OVA, one the Zelda series like very blatantly like draws from that art style because in case anyone in the audience isn't familiar, the series the video game boom really kicked off in the 90s and Ocarina of Time which is probably the Zelda game that defines all others, was a 90s game, and the art style of that is very 90s anime influence. So
I'd argue it's more Disney, but it's still around the same time
no,
period.
no, it looks like a 90s anime, like the Ocarina of Time key art, include even the Twilight Princess key art. Like that's straight out of like a 90s OVA.
Well, it's funny you guys bring up animation because apparently many years ago, an animation studio pitched a proof of concept reel to Nintendo for an
Yeah,
animated
Imaji,
Zelda movie.
the team that did the in my opinion
TMNT
severely
movie.
underrated TMNT. Yeah, severely underrated in my opinion.
That, and I'll be
Um,
real, the test footage for that doesn't look that bad. But they
yeah,
didn't go through with it because, they didn't want to risk on another movie.
yeah. Imaji went bankrupt because of Astro Boy, right?
Yeah, they did.
Astro Boy was them, right? Okay, yeah.
Well, yes, I'm
Yeah.
looking at an article right now. I am not a huge Zelda guy. I've only played one game on the Game Boy Color. But I don't know. What do you guys think? You think a Zelda movie could work with what's
It could
presenting us?
A
It could very
live
easily work.
action Zelda movie, maybe
I think it-
depending on the direction.
I think it could work. I just think it won't because I just don't trust the modern. I just don't trust the modern filmmaking studio, and like specifically all the names attached are not names I trust. Like
Yeah, the
Avi
director
Arad.
is also the producer of Morbius, right?
No,
Well,
I don't
no.
see Morbius anywhere in its
The
filmography.
director. Okay, you know that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer that just came out?
Mhm.
It's the same director as that movie. So if that movie's good,
The
then
Blade
I'll
Runner
be
trilogy.
okay.
He also
Producers don't
directed the
mind
Maze Runner trilogy.
the Maze Runner. Okay, yeah. Maze Runner, huh? Yeah, I don't know. Like he's doing like all pretty like dark. Like if he did Twilight Princess, then like maybe it would be all right. But like that'd be a really weird fucking choice. For,
Oh wait, no, wait, hold up. He was also supposed to be the director of that Mouse Guard movie that was canceled.
what's Mouse Guard?
Mouse Guard was an animated film in development at Fox that had the plug pulled when Disney bought them.
Oh, fantasy. Is this like Redwall? Like why are there so
No,
many fantasy mice series?
it's called Mouse Guard. That's another canceled animated film that has like
Yeah,
really
no,
impressive test footage.
it's an adaptation of a comic book series, and I'm just like, why are there so many fantasy series about mice? There's Redwall, Mouse
Well,
Guard, Tale of Despero, all just like so many little mice fantasy
Big
series. That's
adventures come in
weird.
the
Well-
smallest of packages.
well, okay,
Yes.
looping back around to Zelda, here's my
Oh,
big
maybe we could do a
question.
Minish Cap movie. Maybe he'll make
Here's
it a
my big
Minish
question.
Cap adaptation.
Who would you guys get to play Link?
Not Chris Pratt.
I don't know. Tom Holland. I'm kidding. I don't know.
Who would
Tom
be?
Holland is like such an easy answer.
Tom Holland would not be a good pick. You need someone with like real like sharp but boyish features.
Okay, here's the thing. Now, would they make Link talk in this movie?
I feel
Yeah,
like you have.
You
I
have
think they
to?
will, but I think they'll make him like how Cloud is in, like the new Final Fantasy game.
ambitious
He's like he's pretty
He's
stoic.
silent, but
I think he'll be like pretty like stoic, like how Ryan Gosling is in Drive, or like the Man Before the Man with No Name trilogy. How like they
that's
don't
it.
really
Get
say
Ryan
much.
Gosling to play Link.
You know, it's
He's
his birthday
cool.
today.
Yeah, it is his birthday today.
Well,
It's also
yeah, it all
the-
ties. Happy birthday, Ryan Gosling. You're
Yeah,
probably
it's
not
also the-
listening to this.
Actually, shit, it's The Legend of Zelda is very heavily influenced by Hinduism, so it's also Diwali, so it's all connected. Did you
We
guys
found
know
the
that?
pieces of another Triforce.
The third Triforce. The Triforce of the
The third
Triforce.
Triforce, Diwali, Zelda, and what was the last one? Oh yeah, Ryan Gosling.
Yeah. A lot of people don't
This
actually
is
know that
the
like
weirdest Triforce I've ever come across.
a lot of people don't actually know that like Zelda is like super Hindu influenced because
The currency is rupees.
I mean yeah, the currency is rupees, but like there's also like some more mythological stuff. A lot of like I'm not a lot of like Japanese stuff like takes influence from Hinduism because there's like the Rudra series and like technically Wheel of Time is like a lot of people really like to like infuse that together, which was interesting. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I think I mentioned this last episode, but do you guys remember the Ridley Scott movie Legend? It was apparently like one of the people like often said that it was like an influence on the Zelda series. So like, And I'll be honest, like I think like if an 80s live action Zelda movie, like probably would have been pretty good, you know. You have 80s Tom Cruise, he had kind of the boyish Link looks of Link kinda. I know there's some anime Bishonen characters that are inspired by Tom Cruise, so again Tom Cruise is too old, but like ideal casting, I would honestly say 80s Tom Cruise maybe, or like River Phoenix or Heath Ledger, I don't know. Not
Yeah,
Heath
but
Ledger
they
actually.
invent a time machine. You can't do that.
James Dean. James Dean as Link. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of like
An actor in this day and age, that's kind of hard to think about.
it's got like really
Okay,
boyish like I guess Timothy Chalamet. I guess I don't know. This seems too obvious of a pick though.
well, okay. What about like Zelda and Ganondorf? Could you easily pinpoint an actor for them?
I don't know.
Jack Black's Ganondorf, hell yeah. No.
No. I'd say for Ganondorf, get some like straight up just get an actor from India. Like you can just get some Bollywood actor that plays like intimidating roles. I mean, that's what Steven Spielberg did for Temple of Doom. He just got some Indian actor, so why not? Just ship some guy from India that's known for playing villains, and that'll be a good Ganondorf or like Arabic actor. Maybe you can get Tony Curtis. You guys know Tony Curtis? You remember Training Day?
Yeah.
Actually, wait, I don't know if his name is Tony Curtis. I might be getting the name wrong.
Tony Curtis is dead.
Not Tony. I don't know. His name is Cliff Curtis. Fuck. Cliff
Curtis-
Curtis. I was thinking about.
Because I'm looking at Tony Curtis died over 10 years ago.
Okay, Cliff Curtis could probably play a pretty good
Cliff
Ganondorf.
Curtis. There you go.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to think of like someone with like a sharp nose that like could also have like a big booming voice. So I'm like, yeah.
Okay, what about Zelda?
I don't know. Hunter Schafer. That's what like the most popular fan pick is, but like I don't know. They don't have to be blonde because you can just like dye it, or you could just go with the
Zelda's had brown hair before.
Yeah, Link has had brown hair before.
Yeah.
So as long as
very
like a
first
kind of
game.
light, as long as you can have like a lightish brown hair, I think it would work.
What, give him the
you know what?
pink hair.
Yeah, here's a hot take. Make Link played by a girl, and people are like, "Oh, that's a little weird." I'm just like, listen, I've seen Peter Pan plays. They never got a guy to play Peter Pan. It's always a woman. Link is inspired by Peter Pan. Fuck it, just get a girl. Get a girl to play Peter Pan. Get Hunter Schafer to play both Link and Zelda. She can do it. I don't know. I don't know if
Alright.
Hunter Schafer. I don't know if Hunter Schafer is a good actress.
Actually, the real question here, who would voice Navi?
That's depending on the source material they're dragging it from, because it could probably
Might
not
not be
be
Navi.
Ocarina of Time.
I mean, it probably will be Ocarina of Time, but it might not be Ocarina of Time.
It could be Breath of the Wild. You never know.
Yeah, my guess would be Breath of the Wild, Skyward Sword, or Ocarina of Time. There's a slim. Okay. I highly don't think it's going to be Twilight Princess, but just because the director has mostly made grittier films, it might be Twilight Princess. And in that case, I have no fucking idea who you'd get to play Midna. Some Broadway actress maybe that plays like villainous roles. I still think 2D animation is the way to go. And preferably 2D animation that's done in Japan, but you know, they want Hollywood, so okay. The one was weird to me. How come of all the Nintendo franchises that got anime, fucking Kirby was one of them? I like the Kirby show, but why Kirby? Why was it Kirby?
Because Kirby will not work in live action.
Yeah, I know it wouldn't work in live action, but why didn't Mario get an anime? Mario got an American cartoon. It didn't get an anime. Apparently,
There's a
was, like-
there's a very simple reason why Kirby got an anime. He's got Maximum Pink. Mario don't got
Why did-
Maximum Pink. Zelda certainly don't got Maximum Pink.
Link to the Past does.
Yeah, because he's got the pink hair in that game.
Yeah, but that's just the hair. Kirby's the whole spiel, head to toe.
All right. Well,
That's
I
Maximum.
don't know.
Okay.
Still,
I'm done.
I'm
I'm
baffled that like Zelda never got like an anime thing before, because like in the 80s during the bubble Japan's bubble economy, like the art style for like the Nintendo Power comic was the art style for like the manual and stuff was like perfect 80s OVA stuff. They got Ishinomori to do this Nintendo Power manga. Do you guys know who Ishinomori is?
I know the name.
Same here. Just don't remember what they worked on.
Ishinomori is basically like Tezuka 2. Like he made Cyborg 009, which is he made Cyborg 009, he made the Super Sentai series, he made Kamen Rider. So he's the guy that invented the tokusatsu genre. He invented Power Rangers. He created basically Japan's biggest superhero franchise, which was like the most influential thing ever. Like Sailor Moon was influenced by it. Evangelion was like hugely influenced by it, like to the point where like Hideki Anno directed the latest Kamen Rider movie. Ishinomori is probably like the most influential anime guy in the West also because you know the Teen Titan show?
Yeah.
A ton of the Teen Titan show made like direct references to Ishinomori's work. Cyborg's design was a direct homage to the Kaider franchise. Cyborg 009, Super Robot, like Super Hyper Monkey Force, whatever that thing is. Super Robo Hyper Monkey Force Go or whatever. But yeah, he made the Zelda manga.
Oh,
One
really?
of the biggest, yeah. The Link to the Past Nintendo Power comic was him, and I'm like, you got like one of like the top three biggest names in like the history of anime to make your Zelda comic. He's also done a ton of live action stuff and a ton of anime stuff. And like you just leave it at the comic, you don't put it to animation? Like what the hell? Like I don't know, that was a weird choice to me because like again, he's like Tezuka, Go Nagai levels of influential. Like people call like Miyazaki the Disney of like Japan, but he's like the Spielberg of Japan. The Disney of Japan was definitely Tezuka or Shinomori.
It's still strange to me that they tapped Sony Pictures to help make this. You know, the film division of arguably their biggest competitor.
Oh yeah, shit. Sony is like their competitor.
I mean, Nintendo
I
doesn't really
mentioned
have
that
much
at
in
the
the way
beginning.
of a film market, so
Universal doesn't manufacture consoles. Sony does. I don't know. It's like if they were gonna make a movie based on It's a Small World, and DreamWorks was tapped to make it. Like
Yeah.
that's your biggest rival.
I mean, I guess I don't know. Sometimes people put truce. It's like when Disney made a movie about live action characters talking to animated characters, and like 90% of it was like Warner Brothers references.
Well, yeah, but at least with that, it's like split because
Yeah.
that's
Actually,
representation from both.
what?
Nintendo is
What?
pure. Zelda's
No,
purely
I mean
Nintendo.
like I know that, but like Roger Rabbit himself like does not resemble any Disney characters. It's blatantly like a Tex Avery riff. Yeah, like and even like the Roger Rabbit like shorts they made after had like Droopy and like other Tex Avery characters in it. So like they're very clearly wanted to like do like an MGM thing there. And then obviously Tex Avery also worked on Warner Brothers with Looney Tunes and stuff. So I'm like, it's kind of funny that like they did that and like the Betty Boop scene is like one of the most famous ones. And like that's Fleischer, which is again one of the rivals. And I'm like, huh. Fleischer's
Well,
Universal
again,
too,
Roger
actually.
Rabbit is a whole smorgasbord of different studios.
I know it's
This
just
is
funny
just
because like
Zelda being
it's just
made
funny because
by the competitor.
the Disney stuff was like not that prominent at all, but like the other stuff was. Like I think it's funny that they're like, we must do a 50-50 split with Disney and Warner Brothers. And then they're like, oh, MGM and Fleischer? Yeah, fuck it. Give them like the bulk of the attention. I was like, I don't know what Disney's like
I guess
marketing move
because
there
they're
was.
paying for the rights to use those characters, get your money's worth out of it. Because they can get Donald at any time they want, no cost. They own them. Better use
Yeah.
the characters that you can only use
I
for a
just I
limited
just like
time.
found it interesting that they're like it has to be a 50-50 split with Warner Brothers, but like it doesn't have to be a 50-50 split with all the other animation studios they're competing with. And they're like, and it's not like MGM, like Fleischer I can kind of get because Fleischer is a dead studio, but like MGM was still making shit at the time. So like I don't know why they did him. MGM and Hanna-Barbera, like I don't know, whatever. It's not a big deal.
I couldn't find a reason why Nintendo chose Sony specifically, but I
Yeah.
don't know. It's odd.
Anyway,
Make-
how
I guess
long
they
have
know
we
make
been
something
recording
we
truce.
on
don't.
for? How long have we been recording for?
We've been talking about Zelda for like 25 minutes.
This should have been the
Okay.
Black Cauldron episode. It would have been a seamless transition, but
We were just
oh
too
well,
early.
we were.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, speaking of other
that's
video games that we're probably going to talk about for a long time because uh Sonic Sonic Adventure 3 came out basically.
No, it didn't.
And it's exclusive to the Apple Arcade. Yeah, no. There's an Apple Arcade game called Sonic Dream Team. It's basically like Apple's rival to like Xbox's Game Pass, and it's a full like home console tier game. It's just exclusive to this Apple service that no one has. But the people who have played it have basically said this is just Sonic Adventure 3. It plays like a Sonic Adventure game.
No.
They released Sonic Adventure 3.
That's bullshit.
on
I
the
don't
Apple
believe you.
Arcade.
That's a fucking coping mechanism.
It's not a coping mechanism. It's just really. How is it a coping mechanism that they release Sonic Adventure 3, but no one can play
If it was Sonic
That's
Adventure
so
3, they'd
fucking
call it
funny.
Sonic Adventure 3.
and if it was Sonic Adventure 3, they
It
wouldn't
plays
release
like
it
Sonic Adventure 3.
exclusively on Apple Arcade.
Yeah, it plays like Sonic Adventure 3, which is like really funny to me though. It plays like a Sonic Adventure game, and like when people say Sonic Adventure 3, they just mean they just want another game that plays like Sonic Adventure that isn't Sonic 06. You know, that plays good. And like that's what they did.
Well, that's what Project 06 is for. Because it's Sonic 06, but it's good.
Okay, so this is Sonic Adventure 4 then. Like,
I don't know. This kind of reminds me of the original plan for Sonic 4, where it was just mobile, but they realized we can't do that with a mainline entry. We got to put it on consoles.
you know, they just didn't call
And
it
this
Sonic.
time
If
it's
they
staying Apple
No, they did that
exclusive,
for
or
marketing purposes.
probably,
They wanted that to get more attention. Just so that it
Yeah,
would
if they-
I don't
sell.
know.
If they didn't call it Sonic Adventure like 4, they wouldn't have released it on home console. They would have just kept it
You
a
mean
mobile
Adventure
thing.
3 or
No,
Sonic the
Sonic
Hedgehog 4?
Yeah.
When are we getting a Sonic Advance for?
I mean, isn't it the Rush games?
I'd say that's like,
That's its own trilogy.
yeah, that's its own.
I
Like
know,
same
but like
developer.
it's
too,
the
but
next evolution. Like, you know, it's the same
it
team.
is,
I don't know.
but I don't think. I think calling it 4 is a bit misleading.
Fair enough. But like the boost games teams were like actually like they were like different staff than like the adventure games, which is why they felt so different. But like, yeah. But yeah, Sonic Adventure Dream Team, which was inspired by Tony Hawk, Mario Sunshine, and the adventure games. Like, they're like very clearly like gunning for like that 2000 stuff. Have you seen like the footage is out there? You can like just look up the Sonic Adventure Dream Team footage, and it's
All I know is that
Yes.
Cream's in it, and she hasn't been in a mainline game since Advance 3, I want to say.
oh yeah, they have like a ton of
Wasn't she in Generations?
No, playable anyway.
She was there.
Well, yeah, but she just
lot
Better
of
than
people are there.
nothing.
said like a couple lines of dialogue, and that was it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
she might
Big
have.
wasn't
Was
in
she in Forces?
Big wasn't in Sonic Generations, yet he's prominent in Sonic Frontiers.
Okay, well that's
He
different.
He was in Generations.
No, he
Like
wasn't.
random. There's a ton of like background cameos.
Well,
That's
yeah,
that's
but
not in
like,
Generation.
gag.
That's in Secret Rings.
No, I'm pretty sure Big was in. I'm
Not
Googling
in
now.
Generations. No.
Big was not in Generations.
I'm double checking this. Sonic Generations. It says the Sonic Wiki says that he has a cameo. I'm
Where?
clicking it now. Big has a couple cameo appearances. He appears as like a neon sign in the Casino Night DLC. Okay, well that's kind of stupid. He appears as a statue in the hidden statue room. Okay, that
But
shouldn't
it's
count.
not Big. These are just that's a
Yeah, wait,
sign
yeah.
that has Big on it and a statue of Big. It's not like if I walk in DC, hey,
Yeah,
look,
wait, never
there's
mind.
Abraham Lincoln.
Never mind. I thought it was something else. I'm googling it
Like,
more.
yes, it is Abraham
see.
Lincoln, but it's not really Lincoln.
Where's Big Arm? It says Big Arm.
Big Arm is in the 3DS version
Big
of
Arm is
Generations.
something else entirely different.
Yeah, I know, but like I'm just googling stuff. Huh?
Do you count the racing games?
Yes, not really.
We're
No.
talking mainline.
Kind of the racing games and like then you could be like, oh, Sega didn't forget about Billy Hatcher. He was like, yes, they fucking did. Just because they throw him in like a racing game as a treat doesn't mean that they care about him. New Sonic game came out. Apparently it's good. No one's really sure if it's good though.
Isn't Sonic Prime getting a season 3?
I believe so, yes.
I guess.
I could have sworn that it was only like a couple months ago when people were saying season 2 was coming out. Like, how fast is this show coming out?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched Sonic Prime, nor have I
Neither have
kept up
I.
with any information.
Like, did I just literally blink and missed it?
Possible.
Maybe he's too fast.
I don't know how to easily segue out of this, so the last bit of news that I had anyway was that we have our teaser for Inside Out 2.
Oh, but can
You
I
guys
just tell a
seen
really
it?
quick story about this? Because it's really funny. My friend,
About
he
Inside Out
posted.
2?
Yeah, so one of my friends in a server I'm in just posted a picture of one of the new emotion with no caption or anything, and I was just like, that looks like if Inside Out had a new character called Anxiety, and then they said that is Anxiety. I was like, what? It was like Inside
Wait,
Out 2 got
for
announced.
real?
That's Anxiety. I was like, oh,
You
I was
so you
thinking, what?
actually you didn't see the teaser.
I didn't see the teaser. Like someone posted the teaser but it didn't say Inside Out. I just saw the screenshot. I just thought it was like an AI image or something, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. It looks like, and I was like making a joke. That I was like, it looks like that's what
Well,
anxiety would be like. I just thought it
you're
was like
dead
some
on.
random CGI flick, and I was like, yeah, it was
No, you are
anxiety.
dead on. That is Anxiety. That is a new character in Inside Out 2. Lugia, did you see the teaser?
I didn't, but given from what I heard, Joy is gonna have a much harder time.
Yes, the teaser
I,
only showed anxiety, but apparently 3 other new emotions are ennui, embarrassment, and envy.
I thought
Ennui.
I thought Envy was what that Mindy Kaling's character was.
No, that's disgust.
Oh, right, I forgot about that.
Wait, what was the first one?
Ennui.
What does that
It's
mean?
like it means like
Ennui is
boredom.
like it was like that like those like 90s movies where like people are kind of like listless and melancholic and stuff. That's what ennui is. Like the
Like I
ennui and
said,
like
bored
Clerks.
or disinterested.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot
I'll
of
be
people
real,
like kind of associate ennui with Gen X.
I am excited for this, but I'm also like, I mean, Turning Red was kind of this. Turning Red was a movie about puberty and dealing with a rush of emotions. And Pixar
I
decides, hey, let's make a sequel to our emotions movie.
I think it would be really funny if they leaned because people compare the first one Osmosis Jones and now they got anxiety. So it'd be really funny if like they show like Riley take like an SSRI. We just have like a pill character exactly like the Osmosis Jones one
Hey,
to
I'd
like
be down.
keep anxiety in check. It's like chill
I'd
out
be down.
anxiety.
Osmosis Jones
SSRIs are
and
just like
Inside Out
secure, they're just
crossover.
bouncers. Things taking like a Vyvanse or some shit, and it's just like a bouncer that like pushes Vyvanse. It just like it's just a bouncer that doesn't let anxiety in the control room. It's like, oh, guys, why are you letting me in? Like soinks. I probably won't sound like Shaggy, but and Shaggy is the voice of anxiety. Let's be real.
And hidden potential.
That's all I got. You have any other things you wanted to talk about?
Nope.
Either of yous?
Wait. Just one more thing. It was Veterans Day.
Wasn't that
Yesterday was
yesterday?
Veterans Day.
Yeah.
Yesterday was Veterans Day. Veterans Day is the 11th.
Yep. And speaking of veterans, today we'll be following Ravenous. We'll follow a bunch of people in the military. Perfect transition.
I
Give me
mean,
an Oscar.
you know what? I'll
I
give
Well, if
you
it gets us,
got
yeah, if it gets us to talking about the movie, then sure.
that.
All right. Ravenous is a 1999 horror western cannibal film starring Guy Pearce, Robert Carlyle, Jeffrey Jones, and David Arquette. Some of you may recognize those names. Guy Pearce has been on the show before in Memento, and David Arquette was in the Scream pictures. Yeah, and then Robert Carlyle, who is in Train Spotting, The World Is Not Enough, underrated Bond film, and actually he's just in a lot of Danny Boyle movies. 28 Weeks Later, Yesterday, yeah, it's really funny. I thought this guy was a completely different actor until I looked it up, and it was like, oh shit, it's that guy. I was like, oh, never mind. I thought it was like Lieutenant Dan or whatever that guy's actor is. He's not Lieutenant Dan. I don't know. I just got confused with someone else. Anyway, yeah. So, Ravenous is a very unique film. It was directed by Antonio Bird, but also kind of not. So basically, what happened is 1 week before production, so they hired a director called Michael Machensky. He was the one that was supposed to direct the movie, and then basically 3 weeks into filming, he got fired, and they replaced him with Raha Gosnell.
Was there any reason why he was fired?
Yeah. So basically, 1 week before production, he submitted new storyboards that require additional weeks of shooting. Eventually, Fox agreed to the additional week, but he also refused to attend like production meetings with producers. Let's see. Shooting was delayed on the first day. As filming commenced, Machenchi said Zinsky sent him notes on rushes every day and complained about the amount of dirt in costumes. There were constant rewrites during shooting. Basically, it was just like a messy production overall. They replaced him with Raha Gosnell, but here's the thing: Raha Gosnell
Director
is
of
like,
Beverly Hills Chihuahua?
yeah, the guy who
That
directed the
guy?
Scooby Doo movies, Home Alone, the Smurfs movies.
Like,
So here's what
I know he
happened.
direct.
They
I know he
hired-
directed those, but I just like to be like, oh, but yeah, the Beverly Hills Chihuahua guy.
Yeah, but so here's the thing that happened. Raha Gosnell showed up, and the entire cast protested. They had a mutiny. They're like, "This is a serious fucking movie. We're not
Really?
working with that bum." That's literally
Oh my
what happened.
god!
So what
My
happened is
God.
Robert Carlyle. So here's the thing: Robert Carlyle, basically called up his personal friend Antonia Bird, who was this like kind of artsy director, and said, "Please, lady, you gotta take it." Antonia Bird's a woman, by the way. She was like, "Please, please save this fucking picture, man. It's a good script." She read the script. She agreed it was a good script, and like she also like had a previous like business relationship with Ziskin, who's like I believe was the one of the main producers. Who's Ziskin actually? Oh yeah, the executive Laura Ziskin. So basically, because one of the main actors and the executive producer's friend, they basically just called in a favor. Like they just called their friend and was like, "Please do it." And like Antonio Bird apparently worked in the studio system before, and she fucking hated it. So she like only did like independent like indie films, and like she had like such a bad time in the studio system. She like stopped, and basically like these two just begged her to save the film, so she did. And yeah, following 10 days of negotiations, she took over production. She would also criticize the circumstances, but she kept things in place, and she actually like, here's the fun thing: if like you're familiar with like her other films, it really fits her other movies, like, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, this movie was a production nightmare that somehow ended up a fucking miracle masterpiece. Well, in my opinion, it's like a really good film. Unfortunately, it wasn't successful because once the movie was done, everyone was like, "Oh, finally, we made a good movie, great!" And then the producers immediately were like, "Wait, fuck, how do we market this?"
I mean,
How do you
Because it's
sell
like,
yeah,
cannibalism
like,
to someone? Oh God.
you
it's
can't
like, wait,
really.
it's like, do we advertise as like an action movie western? Do we advertise it as a horror movie? Do we advertise it as a comedy? Because it's pretty goofy. And it's like, shit, what do we do? So like they decide to opt to advertise as a comedy, and they emphasize David Arquette a lot in the marketing, which I'm sure probably bothered the David Arquette fans that went into the movie and like he got killed like an hour in. Is that like, when did he get killed? He got killed, like he's dead in the movie. It was like, yeah,
Yeah, within like the first. Yeah, like before the hour mark, he's dead. So yeah,
whoops.
sorry, David Arquette fans. Thanks for your money.
But yeah, obviously because it is a good film though, it built up a cult following, and now it's got it's still a cult following film. It's not like a huge like classic or anything, and I don't think a movie like this ever would become a classic, but it's got a reasonable fan base. It also got a fan base because of the very unique score, which was done by Damon Albarn, who is best known as the man behind the English rock band Blur and Gorillaz. Same guy did the score for this movie, which honestly, like, really check, because this is a weird fucking score. Anyway, yeah, fuck. Let's just talk about the score because like we can kind of talk about that like completely like separately. What did you think of the score?
When this movie started, I was very confused. I'm like, you have this like military setting with everything. It's the Mexican
And then
American War. Banjos,
and then it was like
a banjo, and then like violins, and later synth. I'm like, this is weird. But as the movie kept going, and I was realized what I was getting myself into, I'm like, you know what? The weird
it
off
perfectly
Yeah, it
kilter
looped
goofiness,
around
yeah,
to
it
just fitting
perfectly
in
fit.
perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Wow,
I was
wow,
like,
English.
it was really bizarre, really unique. It bounced between like casual and goofy to like really intense and foreboding. And it's got like a western tinge, and I'm like, what? I was describing the score right then, and I'm like, I could describe the entire movie like that too, because like it was really
Honestly,
bizarre, really
the
unique.
moment
It's got a
the
western
moment
tinge. It's kind of goofy, but also kind of intense and foreboding. It was like, yeah, this is a perfect score.
the moment it finally clicked for me what type of movie this is when Guy Pearce's character gets punched in the face and it's that stock crunchy punch sound effect.
Yeah.
Like that, I burst out laughing. I'm like, I finally get it.
There was
I
also
finally
like-
understand what this movie
the
is.
sequence where they were being chased around, or the one guy was being chased by the what's his name, Calhoun.
And it's the banjo. It's
Yeah.
the banjo.
Like here's a weird thing. Like it's a horror. It's a really intense like kind of horror thriller western, but it's also just really fucking funny, and it's intentionally funny because like it's marketed as a comedy. Like it is a comedy. So I'm like, this is such like a weird movie because like when I say horror comedy, like people think of like Evil Dead and stuff like that, but like this isn't like Evil Dead. This is just like a funny movie that's also a thriller slash cannibal horror western. And I was like, it's just interesting.
It's definitely not
It's
for
also like
everybody though.
incredibly homoerotic too. Which like personally, I think every good villain hero relationship is homoerotic, but like there are a lot of people who kind of there's like a lot of like queer readings for this film.
If I can interrupt for a second, I read a letterbox review that said this is a movie with basically an all-male cast, and they all want to eat each other. Read into that
Like,
what you
yeah.
will.
I
And it
mean,
made me think. I'm like,
that's not 100% accurate, but
I
sure.
mean,
There is a woman, yeah.
I think
there's
two.
one woman. There's one or
Yeah,
two
but
women in this movie.
There's like one in the
Martha.
village, and then there's like another one at the end where they're checking out like what's going on in the village.
That was like the same lady. That was Martha.
Was it?
Yeah. George's sister Martha, the Native American at the start. That was the same lady at the end. Martha was in like the whole movie pretty much.
I thought she was just a completely different character. Okay.
Martha's like the only is like one of the only characters that lives throughout the whole movie. Fuck it, let's get into the story. So the story basically opens with Guy Pearce playing second lieutenant John Boyd, who basically is getting like awarded an honor of some sort because he single-handedly captured a Mexican command post, but and his heroine gives him a captain promotion. But obviously they learned it's found out that the means that he got it is basically he was a coward that froze up and let all of his men die, and then because he kind of like played dead and shit, he was able to basically infiltrate the team and the base and take it all out. So he's both a hero and a coward, and because of that, they give him promotion, but they exile him to this remote military outpost as like a punishment. But anyway, we get to meet the colorful cast of characters. You got Private Toffler, who's very pious, Private Cleaves, who's a drug addict, Major Knox, who's drunk, Private Reich, who's pretty ferocious, and you got a Native American scout, George, and his sister Martha. Private Cleaves is Arquette. Jeffrey Jones is Colonel Hart, and Private Toffler is Jeremy Davies. Anyway, shortly after Boyd joins the garrison, they come across a frostbitten stranger named Calhoun, who tells us really intense and like gripping story about how him and his wagon train got lost in the mountain, and basically they were kind of forced. They were trapped in snow for 3 months, and they were forced to eat each other. It was like kind of like Donner Party stuff. Um, and being their job in the military, they send out a rescue party. And it turns out to just be a big trap. Oh, also he tells like about this mysterious man called Colonel Ives. The thing is though, is that once they get to the spot, it's basically revealed that Colonel Ives and Calhoun are the same person. It was a big ambush, and yeah. There's also a Wendigo myth where the Native American tells the story about this Wendigo myth of if you consume the flesh of their enemies, you take their strength, but also become a demon cursed by the insatiable hunger for more human flesh. And yeah, they fully just lean into that supernatural element, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, anyway, they have a struggle. Reich Guy Pearce eventually has to like eat people and shit to survive when he comes back to the fort. You know, at that point Calhoun is like in disguise as Colonel Ives, and there's this kind of a game where like he's trying to convince people like that's the fuck motherfucker. No one believes him. And yeah. And then like slowly it just kind of the horror kind of keeps out where they keep trying to kill people. He gets blamed and he tries to stop them. People are forced to eat flesh. It kind of becomes like a big battle of wills between Colonel Ives and um Captain Boyd. It kind of culminates. Eventually, we see Jeremy Davies, Private. No, Jeffrey Jones, Colonel Hart, has sided with Ives for his own survival, which is a pretty good, shocking twist. And then yeah, it basically just culminates in this huge fucking battle. At the end, it's like a battle of wills. It's like one of us is gonna die first. If I die first, will you eat me? He does die first. He doesn't eat him, and yeah, and then eventually a team comes in. The general tastes the meat, and it was like, ooh, and, like enjoys it. You know, he tastes the human stew, and it was. I guess you can read. There's some ominous stuff there, and then whatchamacallit, Martha finds the two men dead and together. Close the door with the sad half smile, which I'm not sure how to read into that kind of half smile, that sad thing, but yeah, pretty dense plot. Pretty interesting characters. What did you guys think of it? Broad
I'm
strokes
gonna be.
first. Get into details
I'm
later.
not. I'm not 100% sure what this movie was, but you know what? I liked it.
Yeah, honestly, this was pretty good. Although I think Boyd's arc from like being who he is to becoming a cannibal and trying to deal with that until the end was kind of obvious going into this after they told the story of like how the cannibals work. But all in all, yeah, no, really good. I did like some of the twists too with the Ives and
Yeah.
Hart.
I felt there was a lot of like twists, so like that part being predictable didn't bother me, especially because like I thought like he did a pretty good job as like playing a conflicted character. And like here's something I kind of noticed is like so at the start he's a coward but he's also a hero, and then I kind of felt like oh he kind of like freezes up, succumbs like to eating the flesh, but then like in the end his will kind of like he has the stronger will and he doesn't cave in and dies by his principles. I'm like, okay, so like the whole movie is kind of like how he like kind of caves in, he kind of fails like has some sort of moral failing, but in the end he prevails. Like I kind of feel like that like thing his like kind of backstory they kind of established in the front, and then the ending was like, okay, that's what like his character is all about. He'll fold, he'll cave in at some point, but he'll never like fully go all the way. He's just someone that like freezes up or caves in at like at first, but like ultimately he will do the right thing. And it was like, okay, I thought that was kind of like a strong like it leads to it ultimately being predictable. Like I just kind of felt like that was a kind of nice like bookend
Yeah, that was still a good
overall.
moment for Boyd.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought that was a good bookend. It was like it was strong character writing, even if it was like obvious strong character writing. The acting, Carlos' performance was fucking nuts, right? That was amazing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like the fucking
I think him
speech,
and Guy
and
Pearce are the real standouts here.
I kind of like Jeffrey Jones's character, Colonel Hart. He's not in it like a ton, but like I really thought his character was interesting, just because of like he's like the one at the start that's like the principal guy that's like we gotta save him. It's our job. We have to go help those people, and then
All his books.
he's
By
also
the
the
end of
one
it,
that
he got rid of all of them.
yeah he's the one that wants
Breaks
to eat
peanuts with his
motherfuckers.
bare hands now.
He's the one that like caved in. He's like killing people. Like yeah, it's like that's an interesting thing, especially because like if like it fits. It doesn't feel like a like he's going out of character. Like it just add layers to him, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool.
And he
Um,
calls for his own death. He says, "Boyd, kill me, please."
I kind of like in this scene where like the Ives ambush, like obviously Ives is like his intimidating presence. Like he when he tells that story, it's kind of like generally haunting. The fucking face he does, like when he, I like the banjo, just had me fucking dying,
Yeah.
man. It's like I think it's like really funny how they played this entire movie for horror, except that one scene, which could have been played as horror, but they just decided it's like, man, fuck it, let's just make it goofy.
I swear, the score here is the real
Like,
MVP of the show.
the man is running for his life. He's in a life or death scenario, and like the guy on the banjo's just having the time of his life.
The cinematography and editing is like pretty fucking good. Like I'm mentioning just the editing because like I kind of like the suspense and like the final fight where like they're kind of like trying to find each other. I thought was pretty good. The visual of like the fucking bloody cross on his forehead that was sick as hell. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Given the somewhat comedic tone of this movie, I found it very weird how the lighting was very dark. Like, did you notice that? Like, it looked a little
I
more
did.
muted.
A little bit.
I guess it was just trying to cover its horror-esque bases. I don't know. It's just something that I noticed throughout the movie. That I'm like, it does try to do a lot, and I guess this is where the horror is supposed to play into it, but it also just felt kind of weird.
The horror to me was more of like a test of Will's thing. It's like it
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of like, and like it was kind of like just the atmosphere. Like parts of this movie really remind me of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But yeah, the movie this reminds me of the most is Ridley Scott's first movie, The Duelists, because it's kind of like it's this kind of historical kind of flick, and it's got like two really strong characters that are kind of clashing. I mean, they're not like strong characters, but these like two characters that like with strong personalities like clashing, and it has like a similar kind of like fight at the end where they're like kind of stalking each other like through this environment, trying to find each other and like kill each other. What shit? So yeah, I'd recommend I guess Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Duelists if you want a movie similar to this. I can't really think of like they're not really that similar to this, but like again, this is a really unique movie, so it's really hard to find another movie like this.
I have one random question about the movie.
Yeah.
So during the scene where Calhoun is on the loose and Boyd and Reich have to chase him, and then they just fall down and roll down the hill into the hole. Why does Reich try to choke out Boyd?
I don't know. He's a gangster. Reich. Which one is Reich again?
The blonde-haired one, who's like aggressive,
The guy who dies before the hour mark.
and he gets eaten by Boyd.
Who was he trying to choke out again?
Boyd.
Boyd.
When they were in the
Oh.
hole and he was hanging down.
The guy that Boyd eats when he's in the hole.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it just kind of figures that who is he? Okay. Explain that to me again. I feel like I just got confused.
Okay, so during the chase scene,
Yes.
both Boyd and Reich fall down, and they roll
And they
down
roll
a
down the
hill,
hill for 40 solid seconds.
and
I
then
timed
they
it.
end up in a hole. Reich is presumed dead, and he is hanging upside down. But when Boyd tries to leave, Reich wakes up, and he immediately goes for Boyd's neck, even though they were working together in the previous scene. Like, where did that aggression come from?
Was this when they were like trapped or?
Yeah, this is when they were in the hole. This was after they
Boyd-
found out that Calhoun was a cannibal.
Maybe they kind of realized that they're kind of in a desperate situation. They were like, "Shit, man, we're probably gonna have to eat each other," because like all the cannibal
Yeah, but
stuff.
like as soon
they're-
as Reich wakes up, he just attacks Boyd. Like no second thought, he just goes for it.
Oh, okay. I think yeah. Okay, I got it. I think because of all the cannibal shit and like the survival stuff and stuff, that was all like mentioned before. They were all thinking it. So I think when he saw Boyd, like he thought like Boyd was gonna eat him. So I think it was just like a self defense thing. And you know what? He was right. Boyd did eat him. So
He did, but as a last resort.
yeah, but like still.
Do we have anything else we want to say?
I've said my piece.
Yeah, I've pretty much said my piece.
All right.
A
Yeah.
very
Good movie.
weird, unique movie.
I don't know if we spent
But
more time talking
liked
about
it.
this or Zelda.
We actually did have a decent amount to talk about for this, but yeah. Actually, I guess
it's
you know
probably-
I
it's
do have
probably
I have
even.
a few more things to talk about. I think we talked about like we kind of touched into like the character stuff, but I kind of thought that there was like some interesting like themes of manifest destiny. Like they're kind of talking about like this kind of nonstop consumption, and it was like right around like the time in American history where like we were really kind of like doing the manifest destiny stuff. So I just thought that was kind of like an interesting thing. I think it was intentional. Like I'm pretty sure Antonio Burr like mentioned that before. Yeah, the film music appeared in settings to create manifest destiny, colonialism, and capitalism. As Antonio Bird said, as a European observing early Californian history, making film about that, I kind of believe Europeans were responsible for a lot of stuff that happened here. Robert Carlyle's character represents that. The European practiced genocide. I think the good things about America were Europeans not responsible for. Okay, yeah. I think good things about America, Europeans are not responsible for. That's what Bird said. Bird said the film was more about social misfits than the whole seductive nature of power. I would like to think that someone who enjoyed Ravenous only as gallows humor would start to think the metaphor and power and a society where we're encouraged to be competitive is to me not a great society. Thus, cannibalism can be seen as a critique of contemporary America where the ways of life seems to be more and more a matter of consume or be consumed. In addition, she said that cannibalism can be interpreted as an addiction to drugs. Okay, that's kind of obvious. And other stuff.
Once you start, you
Robert
can't stop.
Robert Carlyle's character is the ultimate drug pusher, and Guy Pearce's character is the ultimate junkie.
Guys, just remember, there's a million wild and wonderful ways to say no.
Just say no to eating people. Yeah, good movie. I'll recommend it. Whose turn is it?
That would be
No.
me.
Lugia's turn. All right.
All right, so this pick I have had in the back of my mind for a while. This was a movie that came out in 2018, and earlier this year it actually got a sequel. So
Okay.
That's pretty show wanky.
so for next week, we are going to be talking about Twisted Pair, directed by Neil Breen.
Hell yeah, we're finally doing a bad movie. It's been so long.
And returning to Neil Breen.
Yeah.
Hey, you've been revisiting a lot of people lately. Cool. I think Antonia Bird's a one and done for me personally. I'm not. I haven't seen her
There's-
other movies. Don't know if any of them would be as interesting to talk about.
So it's cool when we revisit past directors, but when I choose another Phil Niblink movie, that's a problem.
We don't have a problem with Phil Niblink stuff.
It's just some of his movies are bad.
No, it's just like funny because like we never expected. It's always like when Phil Niblink like appears in the credits, it's like it's like we got like punked or some shit, right? Because I didn't know that he was involved in like half the movies that we've seen him. I didn't know he was like
3
involved in
movies.
Black Cauldron. I just saw the credits roll, and I was like, what the fuck?
Here's the thing: just because Phil Niblink being a part of
Like,
a
I know
movie
that
doesn't
who I-
determine its.
Okay, I mean it doesn't, but at the same time, we have not seen a single good movie from him yet.
I think Phil Niblink is a very fascinating person, and I'll say this: he's never the reason a movie has a troubled production. Like, he's not the reason We're Back was such a mess. He's not the reason The Black Cauldron came out so shoddy. It's just he happened
Okay, what
to
about
be there.
Romeo and Juliet?
Romeo and Juliet was a passion project.
I'm gonna call
He
bullshit
had-
on that one.
He had the best intentions. He made it because he thought there weren't enough films out that, like, animated films that families could enjoy. He thought movies were getting too cynical and there weren't many 2D films being made anymore. So he's like, I'm gonna make a movie families can enjoy, fully 2D, that everybody can have a good time with.
I'll only
Phil
agree
Niblink-
with your statement on We're Back, a Dinosaur Story.
Phil Niblink
only-
is not he's not a bad guy.
Oh, obviously
He
he's not a
gets
bad
involved-
guy.
Yeah.
He gets
The bad
involved in some
directors we talked
wacky
about were bad
projects.
people. Neil Breen is not a bad person either.
Well, actually, we don't know that.
I never said he was. I'm just trying to justify why I think Phil Niblink is so neat.
So yeah, Twisted Pair.
Twisted Pair. Yeah. Next week, Twisted Pair.
What a pair, and a twisted one at that.
Yes. I don't know how to close it out. Food.
Red, stop eating Elias! What the fuck?
Okay. Anyway, we're going to wrap up the episode now because Patrick needs to eat dinner. Hopefully it's not human flesh. Haha. Comedy.